Hey, Mike here. So this is another thing I built. Uh, this is my 26 horse Kubota tractor. Bought it last April 2019. Been making really good use of that. This here is a little 3-point attachment that I made in the fall because I needed weight. I needed something to skid logs with. I needed something to stick a stinger in and, haul my cart around with. I needed a place to put my chainsaw. I needed a lot of things, but I didn't want to have to switch between a lot of 3-point attachments that I didn't have. So I made a thing. Different people have made various 3-point attachments. A lot of really creative stuff out there. I just kind of used what I had, which was a heck of a lot of this big heavy C-channel. It's like 2" by 8. Some of it's real thick. I went ahead and used the thickest stuff that I had. This is the same stuff I built that that gate out of down there. So anyway, just a couple of features. It is 3-point attached. It's category 1. I had to buy these pins from Tractor Supply. I didn't really buy a lot of stuff for this. It was mostly just crap that I had. I do have some suitcase weights, which are about 100 pounds a piece. I would have liked to mount them in such a way that they were easily removable, but because I had intentions of using this for working purposes, to throw chains on here, you can see I have various slots here and throughout in order to facilitate chain hooks for skidding logs and whatnot. So it just really gave me a lot of options. And I was running out of convenient places to put it, so I ended up kind of making a welded little shelf there and putting a piece of a bolt through. They're nice and solid. They don't rock around or anything, which is kind of nice. A lot of rings and stuff around. Just like I said, gives me a lot of options. I did buy some nice slip hooks. I'm pretty happy with those. Those are a pair of those off of Amazon for pretty inexpensive. That ring, probably Tractor Supply or something. Welded a little goofy there, but again, just something that's handy. Even something like that, it's nice to slip a rope or a strap or something through. Just for whatever reason you might need. The junk store got me this receiver here. I did bolt it on because I wasn't sure if that's where it was going to end up. Probably where it's going to end up. And then the stinger. Lots of room for just junk down here, chains and bar, and I always have a hammer or something in there. This thing here is a receiver attachment that I made. That's a ripper. I'm going to use that for some drainage projects, like in various gullies I might have in fields where I have a wet spot down the middle. I want to do some, basically rip some swales of sort, I guess. I don't know what you call it, but to subsoil a little bit, get the water to penetrate. Up top, a lot of action up here. Built all this out of some locust boards that somebody gave me, so that'll should last a good long time. See, I have a slot there, a sheath for my chainsaw. Works fairly well. It's a piece of UHMW HDPE on top, just to so the wood doesn't get boogered up. Cheap little clamp-on vise that I bought from Harbor Freight, thinking it would be useful for when I'm sharpening out in the woods. I've used it a few times, but yeah, anyway. Nice ammo can there. The only reason I keep a lot of, wedges and sharpening, file and stuff for the saw. I'm going to move this up. This needs elevated a little bit because when it rains, this gets rained on, this gets wet. The water gets up in the holes and gets inside of that wet. So that needs to be elevated off, even just with a couple of washers. And then there's perfect room there for my oil and my gas. So that's worked out really well. The only things I would probably do different, well, I don't even know how I would do it. Right now, it's kind of a pain in the ass to get on. The first time I attached it this year, I wrestled it for a while because it's very heavy and I can't take the suitcase weights off. Some kind of a quick hitch attachment, the 3-point quick, whatever they call it, might be an option for me. I don't know if I can adapt it to this. I've never used that before. But yeah, otherwise it's been pretty successful. There's just a lot of just junk steel stuff that I had laying around. It's good to have inventory. It's real good. I don't really know what else to say about it. It's been great for skidding logs. It, you said, for giving a lot of options. I can drop it almost down to the ground, almost. So I have to put blocks or something under it to unhook it. But it makes it a nice, convenient workspace, even if I want to use this vise out in the woods for something else, just to hold something while I'm working on it. I can get it to a nice, comfortable position to sharpen my saw or what have you. Yeah, it's just going to keep being, I'm going to keep finding more versatile uses for it and ways to adapt it. Never painted it because I was never done with it, and I probably never will be done with it. Yeah, it's good stuff. So I'm getting ready to unhook it here. Got to hook the hoe back up over there and do some digging behind the shed, finish that up. One thing I do want to add is I had to bury some water line here a couple days ago. I finished it yesterday. That towed up on the hill there, and there's a pond. I don't know if you can see it down across the road. Anyway, there's a water line that runs under the road. I can pump water up to the house, and then I'm going to be able to pump it through the wall out of the house and then up the hill to the tote. And then from there I have gravity feed either back down toward the house, or I have a line that runs down here to the garden, and I can hook up to the garden hose. We used it last year successfully, but the line laid on top of the ground and was really inconvenient in terms of mowing. So I buried that. I did utilize the ripper just to kind of open the ground up before I had to shovel. I think I might make like a middle buster, just get kind of like a furrower or potato plow. I might make it in such a way that I can just clamp it onto my my ripper there, my subsoiler, and just that'd be that much less crap I have sitting around. I don't have to make another one of those, but and that way I can just kind of stick it into my receiver there, as opposed to changing the whole 3-point setup, because it's not something I'm going to be using all the time a lot. One other drawback I have to mention with this is anything that you have in there, including that ball, you can't see the damn thing when you're backing up to try to hook up to the trailer. It's nice when you go to unhook because you can just drop it instead of having to worry about using the landing gear on the trailer. But in terms of picking something up, you can't see the damn thing, and that kind of sucks. And I haven't really found a good solution for that yet. But that also is the case like with the ripper. If you ever look at like a subsoiler ripper, like a small one, or really anything for a tractor, a 3-point, there's not a lot blocking your vision there. You can look over your shoulder and see how you're doing. With this you really can't. You can't see what the action looks like down there. So that's the only thing that I don't really like about it. But anytime you have an item that serves multiple purposes at once, it never does any one of those things the best as something that was specifically made for that purpose. That's just kind of the nature of the game, but we do strive. So yeah, so anyway, if that gives anybody any ideas, best of luck to you. Ooh, one last thing. So I don't know if I'm ever actually going to do it, but I designed this in such a way with this kind of shelf sticking out. I wanted to be able to back over a log and then be able to get as much slack out of the chain, the choker chain, as I can, and then it kind of butts up against this face. Usually I don't have that ball on if I'm skidding logs. Works pretty well. It keeps everything nice and tight to the back end here, and if it slams into this, that's just fine. It's better than it going underneath the attachment. But one of the other reasons that I designed it out like this is because I might devise myself a hydraulic capstan winch that attaches here. There is a company out there that manufactures a 3-point attachment hydraulic capstan winch for skidding logs out of the woods, kind of for small tractors like this. I think it's neat. I really seriously thought about buying it, but I didn't like the general construction of the rest of it. It just seemed a little flimsy. And I thought, well, if I could get a hydraulic motor and a capstan, if you're not familiar, you wrap a rope around it about 3 times, and you can winch things out of the woods or what have you just by controlling the dead end, the tail of the rope. It controls the amount of tension on the capstan. I think it'd be a really handy thing to have here. And then if I did that, that will be mounted up here, and then I obviously have to have hydraulics hooked up. And then I might put a bit of a blade on the bottom so I can drop this into the dirt. So as I'm pulling, it digs itself in and doesn't pull the tractor around. So just an idea in the future. I'd love to see somebody pull that off and let me know how I can source the parts for that. But all right, well, that's enough rambling. Thanks for watching.